Hi, Mike Kennedy with you. We're looking at a tripod adapter for the Minolta 16-2 camera that we've been talking about. If we look at the camera here, we'll see that it can clip on the space here. It's over like that. The flash shoe is going to be on the top. And there we go. Well, actually, that was upside down. You want the tripod mount on the bottom so that when you open the camera up, your shutter button will be on the top. Here's a link to go to a flash to a PC cord. So definitely you want this on the bottom where you see this mechanism with the latch, and you want this on the top where this indentation is, because when you pull this out, you're going to be able to access the shutter button. Now we can tripod mount it. The exposures, lower exposure settings on this, it goes down to 1/30th of a second and B. And why does it go only down to 1/30th? Why doesn't it have 1/15th, 1/4? Well, because those shutter speeds, people typically can't hold the camera still. Usually a 30th is the bottom speed that most people can hold the camera still at. A lot of times it's 1/60th of a second for some people. So the idea here is this gives you the ability to put it on a standard tripod and then take longer exposures. You could even take an exposure at night by pressing setting the exposure on B, pressing the button, waiting for the amount of time that you want, and then pressing it again. I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that. We'll have to do that. I'm not sure if you press once and then press again to end the exposure, but we'll find out. So today, too, we're going to use something called the Sunny 16 rule. It means that if you take the ASA of the film, which is ASA 100, if you're in bright sunlight, you'll use that as a shutter speed, 1/100th, and in most cases, cameras are marked 1/125th. That's going to be fine at f/16. So if you're out in bright sun, that's the exposure that you can use. I'm going to insert a Sunny 16 chart that has other exposure times for other conditions, and I suggest if you're going to use a manual camera that you download this. I'll have the link in the description below, and we'll use that as our guide. Now I do have light meters. I could use light meters, but kind of keeping in tune with this, we're going to be using an exposure chart. And the thing that's really to our advantage that they didn't have when this camera was made is we've had an astronomical improvement in film quality. Using a color negative film, it's going to kind of be extremely hard to overexpose the film and not get a decent image, just because the way film is made, all the technological advances that have been made. And that's why, in fact, we were able to eventually produce these disposable cameras, had one shutter speed for any light conditions, and they still could get decent quality for consumers' photographs. So if you're in doubt, set the F number lower, or open the lens up more. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So here's our scene we're going to photograph. We're on a trail. What I'm doing using the Sunny 16 rule, I'm if I can get this in focus. There. I'm using, I'm going to use 1/25th at f11. So I'm going to move this one space faster. There we go. 1/25th at f11. And we'll take that. I'm doing this because we do have some shade. We have sun, but we do have some shade. And again, I know that it's going to be practically impossible to overexpose this and not get a good print. Here we're seeing the Minolta 16.2 on my tripod with this little adapter, you can see. And you could still unclip this and take the camera off and leave the adapter temporarily on the tripod, but I wouldn't suggest that because you're just asking for something to get broken. You can see I haven't tightened that quite in as much. There we go. But this will allow me to set the camera up and use slower shutter speeds, get sharper pictures. It's well accepted, although some people may not understand it, but at any shutter speed, your results are going to be sharper with a tripod. And there's a few conditions there. In other words, that the shake that is created by the camera itself is mitigated to some degree. But certainly at the speeds of 160th, 130th, you're going to tend to get sharper pictures, especially if you can't hold the camera steady. And of course, it's really the only way to take pictures with the B setting, where the shutter is going to remain open.